I installed cameras to make sure my father was comfortable in his final days. Instead, I watched my wife discuss how long it would take him to die. Let me back up. I'm an architect, Richard Caldwell. I build things to last: office complexes, museums, concert halls. I always believed if you got the foundation right, everything else would hold. I thought my marriage was one of them. 12 years with Jennifer, 12 years of Sunday mornings and shared coffee cups and inside jokes that only we understood. I was wrong. My father, George, moved in with us 6 months ago. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave him 3 to 6 months, maybe less. Hospice care. The whole devastating roadmap. He'd been a real estate developer his whole life. Built half the commercial district downtown. Strong man, stubborn. The kind of father who taught you to swing a hammer before you could ride a bike. Watching him fade was like watching a building collapse in slow motion, floor by floor. Jennifer volunteered to help care for him. "He's family," she'd said. "We do this together." I was grateful. I had 3 major projects running simultaneously: a medical center expansion, a downtown renovation, and a museum wing. Late nights, early mornings, the kind of schedule that makes you feel like you're everywhere and nowhere at once. Coming home to find Jennifer sitting with my father, reading to him, helping him with his medication, it made the guilt bearable until it didn't. The security system was my idea. Not because I didn't trust Jennifer, because I hated being away. I'd be at a construction site and wonder if Dad was okay, if he needed something, if he was in pain. The hospice nurse, Helen, came 3 times a week, but the rest of the time it was just Jennifer and him in that big house while I was buried in blueprints. So I called a security company. Friday afternoon, November 8th, a technician named Marcus showed up with his toolkit and 3 cameras. "You want these for safety or monitoring?" he asked. "Monitoring," I said. "My father, he's not well." Marcus nodded. He'd probably installed 100 systems just like this. Adult children checking on aging parents, the new normal. "I'll put one in the master bedroom, one in the living room, one in your father's room. Motion-activated night vision, audio pickup. You can watch from your phone, anywhere, anytime." He installed them that afternoon. Small white boxes in the corners of rooms, barely noticeable. The app was simple. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. Tap to view, tap to rewind. I found my father in his room afterwards, sitting up in bed. He was awake, lucid. Those moments were getting rarer. On his nightstand sat his leather-bound diary. He'd kept one since my mother died 15 years ago, and next to it, his gold pocket watch. The watch had been my mother's gift to him in 1975, engraved on the back. To George, "Time well spent, Margaret." The watch face was cracked, but he refused to fix it. Said it reminded him nothing lasts forever, so pay attention while it's here. "New toys?" he asked, pointing at the camera. "Just so I can check on you when I'm not here, Dad." He smiled, tired. "I'm not going anywhere, son." I left for the office, stopped at the door, turned back. "Dad, you okay?" "I'm always okay when you're around, Richard." I set the app to notify me of any movement. I had no idea what I'd see. That first night, I tested it. 10 p.m., sitting in my home office upstairs while Jennifer was downstairs watching television. I opened the app. Camera 3, Dad's room. He was sleeping, chest rising and falling with that labored rhythm that comes with failing lungs. Camera 2, living room, empty. Camera 1, our bedroom. Empty. I felt ridiculous. What was I expecting? But I kept watching. Midnight, a notification, movement in the living room. I tapped the screen. Jennifer walking through, carrying something, a glass of water. She disappeared toward Dad's room. I switched to camera 3. She checked his blankets, adjusted his pillow, set the water on his nightstand. Gentle, caring. I exhaled. See? Nothing to worry about. But I couldn't stop watching. Over the next 2 weeks, I developed a routine. Check the cameras during lunch. Check them after evening site inspections. Check them before bed. Jennifer moving through the house, Jennifer reading to Dad, Jennifer on her phone, Jennifer watching TV, normal, all of it normal. If you've ever had to make the decision to put cameras in your own home, whether for a parent, a child, or just peace of mind, you know what I'm talking about. The guilt, the relief, the strange voyeurism of watching your own life from the outside. Sometimes the hardest part is admitting we can't be everywhere at once. Drop a comment if you understand that feeling. On November 23rd, I was at the museum project until 8 p.m. Foundation issues. I didn't get home until almost 9. Jennifer was in the kitchen. "How's Dad?" I asked. "Good day," she said, not looking up from her phone. "He ate some soup. Helen said his vitals are stable." "That's good." She was distant, distracted. I chalked it up to stress. Caring for someone who's dying takes a toll. I kissed her forehead. "Thank you for doing this." "Of course," she said. I went upstairs, opened my laptop, opened the camera app. I don't know why. Instinct maybe. Or that architect's obsession with seeing what's really holding up the structure versus what you think is holding it up. I rewound to earlier that evening. 7 p.m., camera 2. Living room. Jennifer, yes, but not alone. A man, sitting on our couch. I didn't recognize him at first. Dark hair, suit jacket, expensive shoes. They were talking, heads close together. I turned up the volume on my laptop. "Just needs to cooperate," the man was saying. "He's barely lucid anymore," Jennifer replied. My stomach dropped. I knew that voice. That calm, measured attorney voice. Nathan Pierce, our estate attorney, the man who'd helped draft my father's will 3 years ago. I kept watching. They weren't touching, weren't sitting inappropriately close, but something about the way Jennifer leaned toward him, the way she laughed at something he said. I fast-forwarded. 8 p.m., still talking. 9 p.m. They stood up. Jennifer walked him to the door. And then I saw her walk into our bedroom with someone else. I didn't confront her that night. I should have. A reasonable person would have stormed downstairs and demanded answers. But I'm not wired that way. I'm an architect. You don't scream at a cracked foundation. You investigate, you measure, you gather data. So I went back through the footage. Days of it. Late nights when I thought Jennifer was asleep. Afternoons when I was at the site. November 20th. Nathan arrived at 2 p.m. I was in a client meeting across town. They talked in the living room for 20 minutes. Then Jennifer led him upstairs. Camera 1, our bedroom. I'm not going to describe what I saw. You can imagine. What I will say is this. The timestamp read 2:14 a.m. on some nights, 3:30 p.m. on others. They thought they were alone. They thought the only person who might check on them was upstairs in bed, dying. I watched my wife betray me in high definition, with timestamps and night vision clarity, but here's the thing. Here's what kept me from immediately calling a divorce attorney. When I rewound to earlier that day, I saw them in my father's room. November 21st, 1 p.m., camera 3. Dad was asleep in his chair by the window. Jennifer and Nathan stood near his bed, talking. I turned up the volume. "The original will leaves everything to Richard," Nathan was saying. He had papers in his hands spread out on my father's dresser. I could see the letterhead, legal documents. "Can we change it?" Jennifer asked. "Not without his signature." "He's barely conscious." "Which is why," Nathan said slowly, carefully, "we need to act while he still has moments." Jennifer's hand moved to her hip. Moments? Lucid moments when he can hold a pen. My blood went cold. I kept watching. Nathan pulled out a different document, a second will. I couldn't read it from the camera angle, but I saw him point to sections, explain something. Jennifer nodded. "How much longer do you think he has?" she asked. Casual, like she was asking about the weather, like my father, the man who raised me, who taught me everything I know, who was dying in that chair, was an inconvenience with a ticking clock. Nathan shrugged. Helen said weeks, maybe a month. Can we... Jennifer stopped. Can we speed that up without it looking suspicious? I closed my laptop, sat in the dark, heard my pulse in my ears. Not an affair, not just betrayal, murder. I didn't sleep that night. I watched footage until 4 a.m., 6 hours of overnight recordings from the previous week. I saw things I wish I could unsee. November 18th, camera 3, 3:47 a.m. My father woke up. You could see him reaching for something on his nightstand, his medication, the pain medication that hospice prescribed, the stuff that let him sleep, that gave him a few hours of relief from the cancer eating him alive. His hand was shaking, trembling. He couldn't quite reach it. And then I saw movement in the doorway. Jennifer, she'd been awake, watching him. My father's fingers brushed the pill bottle. He was trying so hard. Jennifer walked into the room, stood there. My father looked at her. "Please," he whispered. You could barely hear it. She picked up the bottle, held it for a moment, then placed it 6 inches further away, turned around, walked out. My father tried again, couldn't reach. Eventually he gave up, lay back down. I could see his face in the night vision, the pain, the confusion. At 4:15 a.m., he started crying. I had to stop the footage, stand up, walk to the window, breathe. She'd withheld his medication, on purpose, to keep him in pain, to keep him confused. No, worse. I went back to the earlier footage, November 15th. Camera 2, living room, Jennifer and Nathan again. This time Nathan had a yellow legal pad. He was writing while Jennifer talked. Confused enough that he won't remember, Jennifer was saying. Nathan wrote something down. What about Helen, the hospice nurse? She's only here Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We have time. How much pain is he in? Manageable, as long as we control the doses. Nathan looked up. Jennifer, we have to be careful here. I am being careful. No bruises, no signs of distress when Helen is around, just natural decline. Nathan. Jennifer leaned forward. How long? 2 weeks if we... He paused, chose his words. If we manage his medication correctly. I watched Nathan write on his legal pad. I zoomed in as much as the app allowed. The handwriting was neat, lawyer's handwriting. I could make out fragments. Subject must remain confused, not dead. Plausible deniability critical. Withhold doses, shas disorientation, shas malleable for signature. I took screenshots, backed up the files, downloaded everything to 3 separate hard drives, because I knew right then that this wasn't just about a cheating wife and a corrupt attorney. This was about my father's life, and I was going to need proof. I spent the next week living a double life. During the day, I was Richard Caldwell, architect, husband, son. I went to work, I came home, I had dinner with Jennifer, I kissed her goodnight. I asked about Dad's condition and nodded when she said he was comfortable. At night, I was something else. A detective, a documentarian, a man watching his father being slowly murdered through a phone screen. I couldn't go to the police, not yet. What would I say? My wife is having an affair with our estate attorney, and I think they're trying to kill my father by withholding medication? Based on what? Security footage that might be inadmissible? A conversation I'd recorded without consent? I needed more. I needed something undeniable. So I watched, and I recorded everything. November 24th. I stayed at the office until midnight, but I wasn't working. I was watching 6 hours of overnight footage from the previous night, sped up looking for patterns. There was a pattern. Every night around 3 a.m., my father would wake up in pain. Every night he'd reach for his medication. And every night, Jennifer would be awake, watching. Sometimes she'd move the bottles. Sometimes she'd just stand in the doorway and wait until he gave up trying. At 3:47 a.m., I'll never forget that timestamp, my father reached for the medication. His hand was shaking so badly, you could see the effort it took, the way his whole arm trembled. He knocked the bottle over. It rolled across the nightstand. Jennifer, standing in the shadows by the door, walked over, picked up the bottle. My father looked at her. His mouth moved. I turned the volume up all the way. "Please," he said. "It hurts." She looked at the bottle, looked at him, then placed it on the dresser across the room, 6 feet away. Might as well have been 6 miles. She walked out. My father tried to get up, made it to the edge of the bed. His legs wouldn't hold him. He sat there for 11 minutes. I timed it, crying silently, one hand pressed to his stomach where the cancer was eating him alive. At 4 a.m., he crawled back under the covers. I sat in my office, watching this on my laptop, and I had to put my fist in my mouth to keep from screaming. The next morning, Helen arrived for her regular visit. I made sure I was home. I met her in the driveway before she could go inside. Helen Foster, late 50s, 20 years in hospice care, the kind of nurse who'd seen everything and somehow still had compassion left. She carried a medical bag and a folder with my father's charts. "Mr. Caldwell," she said, "you're home early." "I wanted to check on him myself," I said. "How's he doing?" "Really?" Helen paused, set her bag down. "His vitals are stable, but he seems more confused than he should be. At this stage, yes, there's cognitive decline, but the level of disorientation, it's inconsistent with his medication regimen." She pulled out a chart. "See? Tuesday he was lucid, could hold a conversation. Thursday he didn't know where he was. Saturday, lucid again. It shouldn't fluctuate like that." My heart was pounding. What would cause that? Inconsistent medication. If he's not getting his doses on time, or if someone's adjusting them, who's managing his medications when you're not here? Your wife, I assume. I nodded, tried to keep my face neutral. I've been worried about that, the schedule. Maybe I should take over. Helen looked at me, really looked at me. "Mr. Caldwell, if you're concerned about something, you can tell me. I'm a mandated reporter, but I'm also on your father's side." I wanted to tell her. God, I wanted to show her everything, but I couldn't, not yet. If I tipped my hand too early, they'd destroy evidence, change their story. I needed the full picture first. "Just keep good notes," I said. "Document everything, please." She studied me for another moment, then nodded. "I always do." I watched her go inside. Through the camera app, I watched her check on my father. Watched her notice the medication bottles on the dresser instead of the nightstand. Watched her look at the door, then back at my father, then write something in her chart. She suspected. She didn't know, but she suspected. I had an ally. I just couldn't use her yet. That afternoon, my father had one of his lucid moments. I was in his room, sitting in the chair by his bed. The diary was on his nightstand. I'd noticed it in almost every camera angle, always within reach. He'd been keeping it for 15 years since my mother died. Some days he wrote pages, some days just a sentence. The leather cover was worn soft from handling. He opened his eyes, looked at me, actually saw me. "Richard." "Hey, Dad, I'm here." "I know." He tried to sit up. I helped him, adjusted his pillows. He was so light now, like holding a bird. "How are you feeling?" He didn't answer right away. Just looked at me with those clear eyes, not the confused, pain-glazed eyes, but really looked at me. "I'm scared," he said. "I know, it's okay to be scared." "No." He shook his head. "Not of dying, of forgetting. I won't always remember your name, son. The cancer, the medication, it's all..." He gestured vaguely at his head. "But I'll always remember how you made me feel. Safe. That's what matters." I had to look away, blink hard. He reached for the diary. His hands were steadier today. He held it out to me. "Take this." "Dad, no, that's yours." "It's yours now. Read it when I'm gone, not before. Promise me." His grip on my hand was surprisingly strong. "Promise me you'll read it. All of it. Promise." I took the diary. The leather was warm from sitting in the sun from the window. "I promise." Good boy." He smiled. Then his eyes moved to the pocket watch on the nightstand. He reached for it, but his hand started shaking. The effort was too much. "Later," he whispered. "You'll get the watch later, son." The door opened. Jennifer. She had that bright, fake smile. "Oh, good. You're both awake. George, how are you feeling?" My father's face changed, became guarded. "Fine." "I brought your afternoon medications." "I don't want them." "The doctor says—" "I said I don't want them." Jennifer's smile tightened. Her eyes flicked to me. "Richard, can you help me convince him?" I stood up, the diary still in my hands. "If he doesn't want them, he doesn't want them." "But he's allowed to make that choice, Jennifer." For just a second, less than a second, I saw something flash across her face. Anger, calculation. Then the smile was back. "Of course, I'll just leave them here in case you change your mind, George." She set the bottles on the dresser, not the nightstand where he could reach them. I noticed. From the way my father's jaw tightened, he noticed too. After she left, I moved the bottles to his nightstand. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Dad, I'm not crazy, Richard. I know something's wrong. I just can't figure out what." I wanted to tell him everything, but what would that do? Give him paranoia in his final days? Make him spend his last conscious moments afraid of his own daughter-in-law? "You're not crazy," I said. "I'm paying attention, I promise." He nodded, closed his eyes. "Good, that's good." I took the diary home that night, put it in my office, safe. I didn't read it. He'd asked me to wait, and I would, but I knew it was important. Whatever he'd been documenting, whatever he'd noticed, it was in there. 2 days later, I found the wills. November 27th, 3 p.m. I was supposed to be at the museum site, but I'd called in sick. Instead, I was home, laptop open, watching the cameras. Nathan arrived at 2:30. Jennifer let him in. They went straight to the dining room. Camera 2 had a perfect angle. Nathan had his briefcase, expensive leather. He opened it and pulled out 3 folders, spread them across our dining room table. "These are the 3 versions," he said. I zoomed in as far as the camera would let me. 3 wills, 3 separate documents. Nathan pointed to the first one. "This is the original, filed in 2021. Everything goes to Richard. Standard estate planning." Jennifer crossed her arms. "And? This," Nathan tapped the second folder, "is a revised will. Splits the estate 50-50 between Richard and you, citing your dedication to George's care during his final illness." "And the third?" Nathan hesitated. I could see it, even through the camera. The moment a lawyer crosses a line, he knows he shouldn't cross. "The third version leaves the house, and the majority of liquid assets to you. Richard gets the business properties, but those are leveraged. The real value, the home, the savings, the investments, comes to you. Can we use it? Not without George's signature." "He signed it, didn't he?" Jennifer leaned forward. "You watched him sign it." Nathan was quiet for a long moment. Then, "The date on this will is November 25th, 2 days ago. Was George lucid 2 days ago?" "He had a good day." "Jennifer." Nathan's voice dropped. "His hands haven't been steady enough to hold a pen in 2 weeks. I've seen the hospice reports." "Then make it look steady." I watched Nathan pick up the third will, study the signature line. Then he pulled out the second will, compared them. Then the first. 3 signatures. 1 real. 2 practiced. All supposedly written by the same dying man. "This won't hold up in probate," Nathan said. "It will if Richard doesn't contest it. And why would he? He's grieving. He's busy with work. He'll accept whatever the will says because fighting it means fighting me, and he won't do that." Jennifer's voice was cold, certain. "He's too nice to fight." Nathan closed the folders. "When George passes, we file the third will. If anyone questions it, we say he revised it during a lucid moment to thank you for your care." Hospice records will show you were his primary caregiver. Helen's notes will back that up. And if Helen notices something, she won't. She's a nurse, not a detective. Nathan stood up. But Jennifer, if anyone investigates, they won't. If they do, neither of us can have been careless. No paper trail, no texts, no emails about this. Understood. He kissed her. Right there in our dining room, with my father dying one room away. I took screenshots of everything, the 3 wills spread across the table, the date visible on the 3rd document, November 25th, the date on my father's medical chart, which I'd photographed that morning when Helen wasn't looking. Patient, unable to grip pen, significant tremor in both hands, cognitive function severely impaired. The timeline didn't match. The signatures didn't match. And I had proof. My father died on December 1st. Helen called me at work. "Mr. Caldwell, you should come home. It's time." I broke 3 traffic laws getting there. He was in his bed, Helen on one side, Jennifer on the other. His breathing was shallow, labored. The death rattle, I'd read about it, but hearing it was different, like his lungs were filling with stones. "Dad," I took his hand. "I'm here." His eyes opened, unfocused, searching. "Richard?" "Right here." "Good. That's good." Each word was effort. "The diary. I have it. I kept my promise." "Read it." His fingers squeezed mine. Barely any strength left. "Promise me." "I promise." Jennifer was crying. Real tears, or performance tears, I couldn't tell anymore. Helen checked his pulse, shook her head gently. My father's breathing changed, slowed, each breath further apart than the last. At 4:47 p.m., he stopped breathing. Helen listened with her stethoscope, checked for a pulse, then looked at her watch and wrote in her chart. Time of death, 4:47 p.m., December 1st. She stepped back, gave us space. Jennifer was sobbing into her hands. I just stood there, holding my father's hand, feeling it grow cold. "I'll give you some time," Helen said softly. She put something in my hand before she left, the pocket watch. "He asked me to make sure you got this. Yesterday during my visit, he was very insistent." I looked down at the watch, the cracked face, the second hand still ticking. "Thank you," I managed. After Helen left, Jennifer came around the bed, put her arms around me. "I'm so sorry, Richard. He was a good man." I stood there, frozen, feeling her hands on my back, the hands that had moved medication bottles, the hands that had withheld pain relief, the hands that had killed him as surely as any weapon. "I need a minute," I said. "Of course." I went to my office, locked the door, opened the safe, took out the diary. My father's handwriting filled every page, steady at first, then shakier as the cancer progressed. The last entry was dated November 29th, 2 days before he died. Day 47. Jennifer asked about the life insurance policy today, twice. I told her Richard is the beneficiary. She smiled, but her eyes didn't. I flipped back. Read earlier entries. Day 34. The medications feel wrong. I'm more confused than I should be. Sometimes I wake up and can't remember where I am. Other times I'm clear. It doesn't make sense. Day 31, Jennifer spends a lot of time with Nathan Pierce, more than necessary for estate planning. Richard doesn't see it. He's so busy. He trusts too easily. Day 23, I tried to get my pain medication last night. Couldn't reach it. I don't remember it being so far away. Day 12, Richard is my only treasure. Buildings crumble. Love doesn't. If I ran out of time, know that every second with you was worth it. You were always enough. I had to stop reading, put the diary down, breathe. My father knew. He didn't know the full extent, couldn't have, but he knew something was wrong. He'd been documenting it, leaving me breadcrumbs. The last entry, November 29th. Richard, if you're reading this, I didn't make it, and I don't think it was natural. I'm not confused about that. Something is wrong with my medications. Jennifer watches me at night. I pretend to sleep, but I see her. I'm scared, son, not of dying. I've made peace with that. I'm scared I won't live long enough to tell you the truth. The watch. Look in the watch. I love you. You were my greatest work. Dad. The watch. I picked it up from my desk, turned it over. The engraving from my mother, worn smooth by decades of my father's thumb rubbing over it. I'd seen him open this watch 1,000 times. Just press the crown, and the cover pops open to show the face. But there was a second hidden catch, tiny, on the back plate, hidden in the engraving scrollwork. I pressed it. The back plate came loose. Behind it, in the hollow of the watch case, was a micro SD card. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I found an adapter in my desk drawer, plugged it into my laptop, one audio file, dated November 27th, 11:47 p.m. I put in my headphones, pressed play. My father's voice, weak, frail, struggling. Richard, if you're hearing this, I was right to be afraid. I recorded this on my phone and Helen helped me hide it in the watch. She doesn't know why, but she helped me. Good woman. A long pause, labored breathing. The medications, Jennifer's been moving them. I thought I was losing my mind at first, but then I started paying attention. She waits until I'm in pain, then she moves the bottles just out of reach. She wants me confused. Malleable. That's the word I heard her use with Nathan, malleable. Another pause. I don't know what they're planning, but son, you need to know, I never signed a new will. Nathan came with papers 3 days ago, said I needed to update things. I refused. My hand wasn't steady enough anyway. But they didn't seem upset about that, like they expected it. My father coughed, a horrible, wet sound. I just wanted more time with you. They're taking that from me, but Richard, you gave me enough. You were enough. Every Sunday morning, every dinner, every time you called just to check in, you gave me enough love to fill 2 lifetimes. Don't feel guilty, please. Don't blame yourself. His voice cracked. The watch was your mother's gift. Now it's yours. Time is all we have. Time with the people who matter. Don't let them steal that from someone else. Promise me. Promise you'll find the truth and you'll stop them. The recording ended. I sat there in the dark, my dead father's voice still in my ears, and I finally let myself break. Sobbed with my head on my desk, clutching that watch like it could bring him back. But crying wasn't enough. I saved the file, backed it up in 4 places. Then I called Detective Maria Rodriguez, Elder Abuse Division, City Police Department. Detective Rodriguez, my name is Richard Caldwell. I need to report a murder. Here's what I need you to tell me. If someone you loved crossed a line you never thought they would, and you had proof, would you use it? Even if it destroyed them? I'm asking because what came next destroyed everything. My marriage, her career, Nathan's law license, their futures. I had a choice. I could have walked away, filed for divorce quietly, let them live with what they'd done, but I kept hearing my father's voice. Don't let them steal that from someone else. So I didn't walk away. Comment justice if you'd expose them, or mercy if you'd let it go, because once I made that call, there was no going back. Detective Maria Rodriguez met me at the station the next morning. She was in her late 40s, gray, streaking through dark hair pulled back tight, the kind of face that's seen too much but still gives a damn. Elder abuse specialist, 22 years on the force. I brought everything. 3 external hard drives with camera footage, the diary, the medical charts I'd photocopied, the pocket watch with the audio file, photos of the 3 wills from the camera angles, Helen's contact information. Rodriguez listened to my father's recording twice. Didn't say anything, just took notes. Then she watched the 3:47 a.m. footage. All of it. The medication withholding, Jennifer standing in the doorway, my father crying. At hour 3, she stood up, made a phone call. I need a warrant, she said into the phone. Elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, possible negligent homicide. She listened. Yes, I'm sure. Send someone now. She hung up, looked at me. Mr. Caldwell, elder abuse cases are the hardest to prove. They happen in private. No witnesses, just the abuser and the victim usually can't testify. But this? She tapped the laptop screen. This is airtight. What happens now? Now we build a case. I need to interview Helen Foster, get the complete medical records, have our forensic document examiner look at those will signatures, and I need you to not tell your wife anything. Can you do that? I nodded. I'm sorry for your loss, but your father gave you a gift. He documented everything. Most victims can't do that. She paused. He must have loved you a lot. He did. Then let's make sure his death means something. The investigation took 2 weeks. Jennifer thought I was just grieving, working through the shock. I moved into the guest room, told her I needed space. She seemed relieved. Nathan came to the funeral, stood in the back, appropriately somber. After the service, he pulled me aside. Richard, I know this is difficult, but we should discuss your father's estate. The will... Which will, Nathan? He blinked. I'm sorry? Which version are we talking about? The one from 2021? The one you drafted in November? Or the one with my father's forged signature? His face went pale. Richard, I don't know what you... We'll talk soon with lawyers present. I walked away. Jennifer was watching from across the room, eyes narrow. That night, she tried one more time. Richard, I know you're angry with me. The affair, I know you know. I can explain. You withheld his pain medication. Silence, long and cold. What? Every night, 3 a.m., 3:47 a.m., 4:15 a.m., different times, but the same pattern. He'd wake up in pain, reach for his medication, and you'd move it just out of reach. That's insane. Richard, you're grieving. You're not thinking clearly. I have it on video, all of it, 6 weeks of footage. Would you like to watch it with me? She stood up. You were spying on me? I was checking on my father, and I found you killing him. He was dying anyway. There it was, the truth, finally naked and ugly. He was dying, Jennifer. That's not the same as being murdered. I didn't murder anyone. I didn't help. That's not illegal. Actually, it is. It's called negligent homicide, elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud. And the prosecutor agrees with me. Her face changed. Fear, finally. You went to the police? 2 weeks ago, they've been building a case. You should probably call a lawyer. She did. David Preston, one of the best criminal defense attorneys in the state. Expensive suit, expensive reputation, the kind of lawyer who makes DUIs disappear and gets white-collar criminals probation. I met him once, briefly, in the courthouse hallway. He was confident, assured Jennifer this was all a misunderstanding. Your husband is emotional, he told her, voice carrying. Grief makes people paranoid. We'll get this dismissed. Rodriguez called me 3 days later. Can you come to my office? Bring the laptop with the full footage. When I arrived, David Preston was there. He'd requested to view the complete evidence before proceeding. His right as defense counsel. Rodriguez had agreed, but only if I was present. Mr. Caldwell, David said, shaking my hand, professional, courteous. I understand you've made some serious accusations against my client. I'd like to review your so-called evidence before this goes any further. Of course. Rodriguez set up a conference room, large monitor. She queued up the footage. Started with the November 15th living room conversation. Jennifer and Nathan discussing medication management, timeline, natural decline. David watched, expressionless. Then the overnight footage, November 18th. The full 6-hour recording condensed to show every instance of medication withholding. Time stamps in the corner. My father reaching, Jennifer moving bottles, my father crying, the 3:47 a.m. clip. David's jaw tightened. Rodriguez played the audio recording from the pocket watch. My father's weak voice. She wants me confused. Malleable. Then the document analysis. 3 wills side by side, signatures compared, the forensic examiner's report, signature on third document inconsistent with known exemplars, likely forgery, tremor patterns artificially smoothed. Finally, Nathan's legal notes photographed from the camera footage, zoomed in, enhanced. Keep subject confused, not dead, plausible deniability, critical. Withhold doses, sanjimas disorientation, sesk malleable, no bruises, no physical force. David Preston watched all of it, 90 minutes of evidence. He didn't say a word. When it ended, he closed his laptop. Detective Rodriguez, I need to speak with you privately. They stepped out. I waited. Through the door, I heard raised voices, then silence. David came back in alone, looked at me. His expression wasn't professional anymore. It was disgusted. Mr. Caldwell, I've been a defense attorney for 20 years. I've defended murderers, drug dealers, people who've done terrible things. But elder abuse. He shook his head. I have a father, too. He's 76. If someone did this to him... He stopped, collected himself. I'm filing a motion to withdraw from this case. I can't ethically defend this. I won't. What does that mean? It means Mrs. Caldwell needs to find new representation. It means I believe the prosecution has a case. And it means... He paused at the door. It means your father was lucky to have a son who paid attention. After he left, Rodriguez came back in. That's the first time I've seen David Preston quit a case mid-investigation, she said. No spin, no defense, just consequences. Jennifer found a new lawyer. Not as good, not as expensive. The kind who takes cases other attorneys won't touch. The prosecutor filed charges in January. Elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft by deception. For Nathan, the same charges plus practicing law in furtherance of a crime. The preliminary hearing was February 9th. The courtroom was packed. Word had spread. Local media covered it. Architect's wife accused of hastening his father's death to steal inheritance. Jennifer's parents were there, her mother Rachel sitting stiff in the gallery, her father Tom looking like he'd aged 10 years. The prosecutor, Sarah Chen, was methodical. She presented the evidence piece by piece. Medical charts showing medication inconsistencies. Helen's testimony about my father's fluctuating lucidity. The camera footage. When they played the 3:47 a.m. clip on the courtroom monitors, you could hear people gasp. My father's whispered pleas. Jennifer's cold deliberation. The medication placed out of reach. My father's whimper as he gave up trying. Someone in the gallery sobbed. I looked over. Rachel, Jennifer's mother, was crying. Not for her daughter, for my father. She stared at Jennifer with an expression I'd never seen before. Horror, revulsion. The prosecutor played my father's audio recording. His voice filled the courtroom, weak but clear. I just wanted more time with my son. They're taking that from me. Rachel stood up, looked at her daughter one last time, then walked out of the courtroom, didn't look back. Tom followed her a moment later. Jennifer's lawyer objected to the recording. Hearsay. The judge overruled. Dying declaration exception. The victim believed death was imminent and was describing its cause. Admissible. The diary entries were read into the record. My father's observations, his fears, his love. Richard is my only treasure. Buildings crumble. Love doesn't. The forensic document examiner testified, showed the 3 signatures under magnification, pointed out the differences. This signature, he indicated the third will, was not written by George Caldwell. The tremor pattern is inconsistent. The pressure points are wrong. This is a skilled forgery, but it's still a forgery. Nathan's lawyer tried to argue the notes were taken out of context. The prosecutor put them on the overhead projector. Let the jury read them. No bruises, no investigation. Timeline, 2 to 3 weeks maximum. Jennifer, nervous. Remind her, no autopsy in hospice cases. The defense had nothing. No credible alternative explanation. No way to spin medication withholding into innocent behavior. At the end of the hearing, the judge bound both cases over for trial. There is probable cause to believe these defendants engaged in a conspiracy to commit elder abuse and fraud. Trial is set for April 15th. Jennifer's new lawyer looked defeated. Nathan's lawyer was already discussing plea deals. Nathan broke first. March 10th, his attorney called the prosecutor. Nathan would plead guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud and elder abuse. In exchange for testifying against Jennifer, the prosecution would recommend 3 years minimum security. He took it. At his sentencing hearing, Nathan stood before the judge. Gray suit, no expression. "Mr. Pierce," Judge Patricia Morrison said, "you're an officer of the court, an attorney. You swore an oath to uphold the law, not manipulate it for personal gain. Elder abuse is despicable. Using your legal expertise to facilitate it is unconscionable." She sentenced him to 3 years in state prison, minimum security, as agreed. But then she added, "I'm also referring this case to the state bar. I expect you'll be disbarred." Nathan's law license was suspended that afternoon. Disbarment proceedings began 2 weeks later. His wife, Christina, filed for divorce the same day. She'd seen the courtroom footage, didn't say a word to him, just filed the papers and left. Jennifer went to trial in April. Her lawyer tried to paint her as a devoted caregiver, overwhelmed by the stress of caring for a dying man. The prosecutor destroyed that narrative with the video footage, with Nathan's testimony, with the forged will. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Judge Morrison scheduled sentencing for May 1st. Jennifer's pharmaceutical company released a statement before the sentencing. "We do not tolerate abuse of vulnerable populations. Mrs. Caldwell's employment has been terminated effective immediately." Her parents didn't come to the sentencing. She sat alone at the defense table. Judge Morrison looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "Mrs. Caldwell, I have presided over hundreds of cases, murder, assault, theft, but there's something uniquely cruel about elder abuse. You targeted someone who was vulnerable, dying, someone who trusted you, and you did it for money." She paused. George Caldwell kept a diary. In it, he wrote that his son, Richard, was his only treasure, that buildings crumble, but love doesn't. You tried to steal his son's inheritance, but what you actually stole was something far more valuable, his final days of dignity and comfort. Jennifer was sentenced to 18 months in county jail, followed by 5 years of probation. Restitution of $47,000 to the estate, the amount spent on legal fees and medical documentation proving the abuse. All claims to any portion of George Caldwell's estate were voided. The courtroom was silent when she was let out. Nathan got 3 years in prison. Jennifer got 18 months. But those weren't the real sentences. The real sentence was what came after. Nathan's law firm removed his name from the door the day after his conviction. His clients were reassigned, his cases closed. His professional reputation, built over 20 years, vanished in 6 months. Jennifer couldn't find work, not in pharmaceutical sales, not in healthcare, not anywhere that required background checks. Her parents stopped taking her calls. Her friends, the ones who'd sat with her at charity galas and book clubs, blocked her number. I saw her once, months later, at the grocery store. She looked smaller somehow, worn. She saw me, started to say something, then just turned and walked away. No one in town would look at them. Not the kind of dramatic shunning you see in movies, just absence, invitations that stopped coming, conversations that died when they entered a room, the slow, quiet erasure of people who'd crossed a line the community couldn't forgive. That was the real sentence. 1 year later, I stood at my father's grave. May afternoon, warm sun, the kind of day he would have loved. I'd brought the pocket watch. The foundation was doing well. The George Caldwell Elder Care Advocacy Foundation. We'd helped 212 families in the first year, provided cameras for home monitoring, connected them with elder abuse resources, funded legal assistance for cases like my father's. Helen Foster was on the board. Detective Rodriguez consulted pro bono. I opened the diary. I'd read it dozens of times now, but the last entry still made my throat tight. Richard, if you're reading this, I didn't make it, and I don't think it was natural. But there was another entry, page 84, dated 3 months before he died. Richard is my only treasure. Not the buildings I designed, not the properties I developed, not the money. You. Buildings crumble, love doesn't. If I ran out of time, know that every second with you was worth it. You were always enough. And Richard, you were my greatest work. Not because of what you built, but because of who you are. I closed the diary, placed it on the headstone along with the pocket watch. I didn't leave you behind, Dad, I said quietly. You taught me that. We don't leave family behind. Mr. Caldwell? I turned, a young man, early 20s, nervous smile. One of my architecture students from the community college course I'd started teaching. Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to thank you for the recommendation letter, for the scholarship, for everything. You earned it, Marcus. He noticed the watch on the headstone. That's beautiful. I picked it up, the cracked face, the worn engraving, the second hand still ticking impossibly after all this time. It was my father's. My mother gave it to him, 49 years ago now. Must be worth a lot. More than you know. I held it for a moment, then made a decision. Here. What? No, I can't. My father gave it to me. Now I'm giving it to you. I placed it in his hand. You remind me of myself at your age. Hungry, talented, willing to work for it. He'd want it with someone who understands that time isn't about clocks. It's about being present. Marcus stared at the watch. But this was your father's. And now it's yours. Take care of it, and when the time comes, pass it on to someone who needs to hear the same lesson. He nodded, blinking hard. Thank you. Thank you. I watched him leave, the watch in his pocket, and felt something shift, not grief exactly, more like peace. My father had taught me that legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you pass forward. The inheritance wasn't the house or the money or the business properties. It was time, presence, the choice to show up for people who matter, to pay attention when others look away, to not leave family behind when things get hard. Helen found me at the cemetery gate. Thought I might find you here, she said, just saying goodbye, again. How many times does that make this year? 12, maybe, once a month. That's not goodbye. That's remembering. She linked her arm through mine. Coffee? Yeah, coffee sounds good. We walked to my car. The late afternoon sun caught the foundation plaque visible from the road. George Caldwell Elder Care Advocacy Foundation. Time well spent. I thought about Jennifer, in whatever small apartment she'd found, trying to rebuild a life from pieces. I thought about Nathan, in prison, with 2 more years ahead of him. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just the quiet certainty that some actions carry consequences, and consequences are just gravity. They pull things back to truth. Helen broke the silence. Your father would be proud, you know, the foundation, the teaching, all of it. I hope so. I know so. He told me near the end, before things got bad. He said, Richard builds things that last. He didn't mean buildings. At the coffee shop, I checked my phone. 342 comments on the foundation's latest post about recognizing elder abuse. Stories from adult children who'd installed cameras, who'd trusted their instincts, who'd saved their parents. One comment stood out. My mom is still here because someone told me it was okay to feel suspicious. Thank you for making that permission possible. That's what my father gave me. Permission to pay attention. Permission to trust what I saw even when it hurt. Permission to stand up even when standing up meant burning everything down. We don't leave family behind. He taught me that. And in the end, I didn't leave him. If someone in your life chose you when blood didn't, if you have a found family story, someone who showed up when they didn't have to, share it below. We all need to hear that we're not alone. That chosen family is just as real as the one we're born into. Maybe more real because it's built on decision, not obligation. Leave your story. I'll read every one, because time is the only thing we can't get back. And the people who understand that, those are the ones worth keeping close.